everybody. Welcome to Twanger's Turntable, episode 13 here in a series of debuts of my collection. So this is a debut from a band that I think most people are probably familiar with. Their stuff that came much later, into the late 70s and even early 80s. But this is a debut, Tramp, 1970 was when this was released. And it doesn't sound an awful lot like the stuff that would come later. I mean, of course, Crime of the Century, Breakfast in America, Crisis What Crisis, Even in the Quietest Moments. Those are all classic Supertramp in my opinion. But it definitely has the Richard Davis and Roger Hodgson, you know, as he would trade off vocals. So it definitely has that Supertramp sound. But this is their debut. And a lot of the debuts, or records in general that I have in my collection, I consider myself more of a musical or historian. These are all archives. I love the old records and where these bands started, originated. Obviously many of them originated before they were able to do a debut or signed by a major record label. But yeah, so that's what I enjoy about it. It's more of a collection, an archive. I'm not a record collector per se to, you know, collect these things to for their monetary value or what they may be worth at some point. It's just if I like it, I usually will purchase it. Or if I like the band and I've not heard the debut, I'm curious. I want to hear it. Anyway, 1977 is a debut by these guys, Foreigner. This is their debut. Probably best known for Cold as Ice. It feels like the first time. Head Knocker. That's a really good rockin' tune. A ripper. But yeah, good album. Yeah, not much to say about that. I really like it. Next up from 77 as well is some Canadian content in Prism and their debut, self-titled debut, Prism. Best known probably for Spaceship Superstar, Take Me to the Captain. But yeah, also this was produced by, what was his name, Bruce Fairbairn, famous for both of the huge Bon Jovi albums, Slippery and Wet, New Jersey. Also did some Aerosmith, I think, Permanent Vacation, Pump. What else was there? AC/DC, produced AC/DC, Scorpions, Van Halen, you know, major producers, passed away in '99, but a debut by Prism from 1977. And the original vocalist for Prism also passed away in '84, but he did appear on their first 4 albums. Ron Tavik, the original vocalist, appeared on the first 4 albums, sadly passed away in '84 due to head trauma. I guess it was a blood clot and an aneurysm. Next up from 1977, George Thorogood and the Destroyers. This is their debut, self-titled debut. It's primarily all covers. I mean, it's George Thorogood. If you've not heard George Thorogood, I'll leave a link with the samples below, as I usually do. But it's, yeah, just straightforward, pretty simple rock. A lot of covers, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer. That's the big one on here. But I would suggest pretty well known for Bad to the Bone, and that was I think the one that appeared on Terminator 2. Very huge, but that's the debut from George Thorogood. Next up, 1979, and a debut from Pat Benatar, In the Heat of the Night. Best known for Heartbreaker, We Live for Love. She also did a cover of John Cougar on here, John Mellencamp, I Need a Lover. I think that was on his first album, his debut. Maybe. I don't recall, to be honest, but cover of that. Also did a good cover of The Sweets, No You Don't, which was on Desolation Boulevard, or Sweet Fanny Adams, I guess in parts of the world. But yeah, this is a great debut. I really like one of my favorite female vocalists anyway. Next up from 79 is just as the disco era was hanging on for dear life, Lips Inc., Mouth to Mouth. Funky Town is the big one on here. Most people would be familiar with. A couple other tunes on there. It's Rocket. What's the other one? Power. All Night Dancing. Really only 4 tunes on this whole album. But they're relatively long tunes, especially Rocket and Funky Town. That's their debut, Mouth to Mouth, 1979 by Lips Inc. Another female vocalist that was huge in the 80s, and I don't know much beyond that, but this is her debut. Her solo debut, and I'll get to that in a second. She's So Unusual, Cyndi Lauper, 1983. Massive album. 15, 16 million copies sold, something like that. It was everywhere. If you've not heard this sometime in the past 40 years, you're obviously not listening to music. I would suggest that it's hard not to hear something from this album in the last 40 years that wasn't huge. But her solo debut, I say that because she did have a band prior to that called Blue Angel. They did do an album in 1980. I think it was just called Blue Angel. I'll try and post a link to that as well if you've not heard it and you are a Cyndi Lauper fan. I think it kind of became much more popular after her solo success with this album, and then I think True Colors came after that in '85 or something. But that's her debut, 1983. She's So Unusual. Another female-fronted band. This is an American band. They're from the States here. Till Tuesday, Voices Carry. This is from '85. Very obviously pop, top 40. Solid debut. Did quite well for them. Just I think on the strength of that one tune, Voices Carry. I think that was probably the biggest and best known. I certainly couldn't tell you beyond that, to be honest, but that's their debut, 1985. Another one from 1985, kind of a project, a super group put together by Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, Paul Rodgers from the band, also featured Chris Slade on drums, who was probably best known later for AC/DC. I think he appeared on a couple of their albums. Much later stuff that I'm not that familiar with the later AC/DC, but good album. Radioactive would be the big tune on here. You see the listing there. You see that last tune on the album there, that's Midnight Moonlight. Evidently that was actually a tune Jimmy Page had been working on during the sessions of Physical Graffiti for Zeppelin. And the working title then was just called Swan Song, but this is the finished tune on here that appears on here. Midnight Moonlight. I think they did a couple of albums after this, but this is the only one I have by the firm. It's kind of, if you like Jimmy Page, I'm pretty sure you'll like that, or Paul Rodgers, incredible vocalist from Bad Company. But that's it. That's the debuts I have for today. They're all on vinyl. I do have a few more debuts left that I have not covered yet, primarily just on compact disc, the ones that remain. So I'll do that, I guess, in episode 14 next. And I think I'll wrap it up at that point. I'm kind of done with the whole debuts of my collection series. I want to move on to other stuff. But if you liked it, hit that thumbs up below. Give a thumbs up, hit the like. Subscribe, hit the notification. And thanks all for tuning in here to Twanger's Turntable. I hope you enjoyed it. I do enjoy doing it. And hope to have another one up for you soon. Until then, go turn your turntables, enjoy some tunes, and we'll see you next time here at Twanger's Turntable. Cheers, everyone. Take care.